Okay, this is another tutorial on how to group countries for data analysis. That may be another strategy for allowing you to analyze your data for your treaty assignment. Here, you call up your data, and this is the data we had in the earlier video. And we want to simplify it a bit. And so here, what we want to do is be able to compare members to non-members, as we've discussed in class for counterfactuals. The easiest way to do that is to insert a column. So you can highlight the first column and insert a column. And then I've already figured out which countries are members and which countries are not. And I insert this. So this is just, you would have to do this by hand. But you would go to the Secretariat website, the treaty website, and figure out which are members or not. As you can see here, I just made it alternating to keep it simple. But so you have a chart like this. Another way to simplify your data. Let's imagine this treaty starts in 2000. So we're going to look at only the 10 years prior, and we notice that in a lot of these countries, they're missing data in these early years in any event. So we're going to keep things simpler before we start by just deleting these columns. We're going to take all of these columns, and we're just going to delete the columns. They're gone. Okay. We might delete a couple from the end here as well. If we think that's too long, if you got, and you can, and again, just delete the columns. So now we have a more manageable thing. We also might look and notice that actually Israel has a lot of missing data. So we're going to delete that row here. Just going to highlight the row and delete it. Mexico appears to have a lot of missing data, so we're going to delete that. We're kind of cleaning up our data here. We notice that Chile is missing data out here in the out years. We're trying to make it so that we have only the countries for which we have consistent data. So now we can look at our whole chart, and it looks like it's filled in, so that makes it a little better. And then, again, but here, before we graph it, what we're going to do is we're going to take all of our data, highlight it like this, and now we're going to sort it. And this time we're going to sort it. It's going to allow us, we're going to say my data has headers, meaning that there's headings for the columns, and we're going to select it by whether they are members or not. So now if we look, we see all the members are at the top and all the non-members are down at the bottom. So now, to make it easy to graph this, we're going to create another chart, and bear with me for a second. Actually, we're just going to take member not, we're going to just take those first two rows and copy them. Actually, I'll keep it simpler. We're going to just copy the years. And we're going to have years down here. And then we're going to have members and non-members. And now all I got to do is put in a formula, and we can put, the formula will just be all the members. So it's going to be equal to sum of all these member countries. And the non-members is going to be the sum of all the non-members countries. And we notice that they're pretty similar. So we can now take these two and we can just copy them. Since we put in a formula, we check it, check each formula, and now we can just copy these and it will sum them up for all years. And now, remembering our little graphing trick, we remove the member or not. We can highlight this and we can go to insert a line graph, and there we have a nice little chart of our members and non-members. And we can see that they're both declining. We might want to make one final change. Say, well, that's not quite right. Maybe we can use that index thing to see if the rate of decline is different for the two groups. So we can take the last part. We can say, well, let's do an index version. We're going to copy the years again. Copy the years down here, and we're going to copy the rows But now we're going to do the indexing things, and let's say our treaty starts in 1996. So we're going to do our formula again, equals what the members' level was in 1996 divided by their level, what their level was in 1990 divided by their level in 1996. Remember, we want to do that, and we copy it to check our work. We copy it, and 1996 is not 1 or 100, which is what we expect. So what we do instead is we realize, oh, we forgot that little dollar sign, to make sure that when we copy it, it's always comparing to 1996. Let's see if that fixes the problem, and yes, it does. We also realize, oh, before we do the real copy, we want to make sure it's in a certain format, so we can format the as a percentage with, we don't even need decimal points here, we can just do whole numbers. See what the percentages are, make it easier. So this is 1, and we highlight it to everywhere. And then we check our work and say, is this the non-members percentages? And yes, it does seem to be that. It will make it a little bigger so you can see that this formula is capturing 1986. This one is too, so that is the members in 1994 as a percentage of their 1996. Both of them are 100% in 1996. That looks right. We can do our final step of highlighting the whole thing and inserting a chart and see if it looks. And now we can see, can move this to its own table, label it properly as we go, and now we can see that if the treaty was formed in 1996, the non-members are coming down at a far slower rate than the members. This begins to give us a sense that the treaty had an impact. They were both coming down, but the members came down faster. It also gives a little information about that the members were coming down faster before. So perhaps we also want to look at the before after on these. But that's part of the analytic task, but this takes care of the helping you graph that data. So those are ways to get started on your analysis. I hope it's helpful.